This week we're going to look at single point perspective drawing. So I've created an example of what we're working towards, as you can see in front of you. What you'll need for this drawing activity is a pen, pencil, a ruler or a set square, and a rubber. Now, how this drawing style works. We have in the centre of the page a vanishing point. All lines should converge towards the vanishing point, and what you will have in your booklet is some shapes already drawn out for you. So everything needs to go towards the vanishing point, which is the centre point here in the middle of the booklet. So the first thing we need to do is look at where the corners are. Now you'll see I've already drawn on some of the lines on this just to speed it up. You'll see the simplest one is the box here, so you'll look at any corner point which can be seen running to the vanishing point. Again, you'll see I've done the same thing on here. Inside of the leg can be seen, so it will run up to the vanishing point, and then this side here, again, we can add a line on. In the case of this one, it would be a redundant line. Now, any lines disappearing back up the page should be as faint as possible, because we are going to remove them later on. So, again, if we just look at the top upside down L, we look at where the corner points are, we can run them to the vanishing point. I'm not going to do the top corner because this one will be completely obscured by the internal lines when we draw up the shape. You will have seen me adding additional lines to the table down here, and that's because there will be a little bit of shaping that's required later on. So it's fairly straightforward, this task. Now, once you've drawn on the lines disappearing off to the vanishing point, the next thing to do is we're going to pop on some lines that match up to the lines on the boxes. So we'll start nice and simple with the drop box here. This is where you can use a tri-square, because you can use a tri-square from the edge of, or a set square from the edge of the page in. Now these lines have to remain parallel with the front lines. Again, the next line there, I've got a line already. I can check it's parallel by just looking down there. But those two lines must join up. If they join up at the front, they have to join up at the back. Again, with the top shape, I'm just going to pick one section of it to work from. I'm going to set it parallel again. And once I've started off, I will just work from that point, ensuring that I make sure it's at 90 degrees, either running up the page or running across the page. And I can follow this round. Again, the box will be fairly straightforward. Key thing is to make sure you're running vertically and horizontally. Now the most tricky shape on here is the table. But again, as long as you're making sure your lines are running parallel, it should work. Fairly straightforward. And again, this is where you're just going to need a little bit of an estimation, because obviously it's setting down there, so we're just going to set it back slightly at the back edge. The hardest thing is doing the table legs. So add a bit of thickness to the table leg at the front, add a little bit of thickness to the table leg at the front there, and then coming forward from the back, that line on. And then the reason why I needed the other line in here is just to work out where the width of the table leg is going to go. So that's the shapes drawn out. The next thing to do from there is to double thickness them. So this is where you can apply the thick and thin technique you will have looked at in the previous lesson to again make the shape leave the page. So again, we would go around the shape, go over every line once with the pen, and then the lines where if a spider landed on the object, if the spider crossed over and disappeared, it would mean that the line's double thickness. Now you will find on this type of drawing, 1 point perspective, that you have more double thickness lines than you would usually expect on a drawing, and it's all to do with the fact that you've only got one surface presented towards you. So I finish going around the shape, and then I do the same to the other shapes. That will leave me with an item that really looks like it's jumping out of the page. Now, where you might see this type of drawing style is for things like concept cars. If you are reading comic books, for instance, you may see them being used with things like trains disappearing off into the distance, or you may see them with someone looking up at potentially a skyscraper where it's narrowing off to the vanishing point. So, once you've gone round and thick and thinned them all, from there I'm just going to swap over to the original drawing. We can then add some colour and we can rub out the lines. So once you've thick and thinned them, you can then rub out all your construction lines. So you can just remove all these. They should be nice and faint anyway. And that should leave us with just the items standing out. So move all those lines. Now, to add colour to these, how I would generally do this from the point of view of being a one-point perspective drawing is I would use your vanishing point as if it's a sun. So let's just pretend we have the sun there on the horizon. That is our light source. So this is where you can make your own choice. Personally, I would work on the basis of the objects above. The underside will be a medium shade. The inside edge I'm going to have as the lightest colour, and then the side facing us, which is moving away from the light source, being the darkest possible shade. So above the horizon line, again, you could make an argument that the bottom side could be the lightest, and then you could interchange those as long as it's darkest furthest away from the sun. If you're working below the line, I would adopt having the top edge as being the lightest, inside edge medium, and then again the leading edge as dark as possible. So again, fairly straightforward. We can apply the darkest colour that we're going to pick to the leading edge, shade it in. Obviously I'm going to do this a little bit neater than me. Unfortunately, one of the main problems with working and filming as you go in is the fact that the camera is basically right in my line of sight for doing this. So again, all the edges furthest away from the sun will be as dark as possible. Then work on the base of medium for the inside edges. And then we could go as light as possible on the top. And that should give us some well-formed one-point perspective drawings. So hopefully that's easy enough to follow, and good luck.